At DEF CON, they have a fun game called Spot the Fed, and it's all about trying to pick out who the federal agents are based solely upon their appearance. I tried to bring some of the fun of DEF CON to attendees at Sands Virginia Beach 2025, where we played a game of What Do They Do? In this game, attendees at Sands Virginia Beach will try and figure out whether or not somebody is in offense, defense, forensics, cloud, or some other discipline. Then when we're done, we'll compare their results against the results of a professional open source intelligence analyst to see who does better. At Sands Virginia Beach, students can take awesome classes like Sands SEC 573, Automating Information Security with Python. While at Sands conferences, students get to do all sorts of amazing events. Actually, from our classroom, we could see dolphins right outside our classroom window every single morning. But now let's see if attendees at the Sands event could identify people based solely upon their appearance.
Can you guess whether they are offense, defense, or forensic?
I would say offense.
Offense? This person is defense.
Okay. They look like military to me, so.
Doug Burks, who wrote Security Onion.
Okay.
Okay. So do you think that people will be able to identify what you do by just looking at you?
Absolutely not.
No? Would you say that Sam is in defense, leadership, or in cloud?
Defense.
Defense?
Yep.
You seem pretty confident in that. You feel pretty sure about that?
I think so. Yeah.
Sam said he's in cloud.
Okay.
Cloud.
That was the other option.
Would you say that this student is defense, cloud, or offense?
Defense.
What would you say this person has written? Offensive, defensive, or forensics?
I'd say definitely offensive.
Offensive tool? This is, that's incorrect. This is Phil Zimmerman. Do you think this person wrote an offensive tool, a defensive tool, or a forensics tool based upon their appearance?
I think he wrote a defensive tool.
Defensive tool. Famous for developing a forensics tool, an offense tool, or a defensive tool.
I would say forensics tool.
So now, do you think that people will be able to identify you?
I don't think they would.
You don't think so?
No.
All right. On their appearance, are they offense, defense, or forensics? So what about this person here whose name is Reza? What is Reza?
Defense.
This person, offense, defense, or forensics?
Okay.
All right. This is
Forensics.
Rachel. What? You know her?
No, I don't.
Have you already talked to her?
No.
How did you know that? That was like instantaneous.
Just a
You
good
knew-
guess.
She is absolutely forensics.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Good job.
Awesome.
Defense, forensics, or offense, just based upon his appearance.
Okay.
Okay.
Forensics.
Let's say Rob is forensics.
Yeah.
Sorry. Rob is offense. This is Zach.
Okay.
Would you say Zach is forensics, defense, or offense?
I'm going to go forensics.
Forensics?
Yeah.
Correct. Why would you say that Zach is forensics?
I don't know. I feel like the thicker glasses, the frames, and the polo shirt. You're not too dressed up, but you're not too dressed down.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you might got to sneak into court or something. You got to have the polo.
JT. So is JT, based upon his appearance, forensics, defense, or offense?
Forensic.
JT is defense. He's in the defensive team. Jess is one of the event organizers at SANS. So you see lots and lots of students come through here, right?
So many.
Okay, so at DEF CON, they have this concept called Spot the Fed, where you just gotta kind of pick out who the FBI is at DEF CON, right? So the concept is, can you really judge a book by a cover? Can you tell me if this person has developed an offensive tool, an forensics tool, or a defensive tool? What did this person develop? Would you say offense, defense, or forensics?
I would say I'm going to go offense. Did I get it?
Congratulations. That's right. This is HD Moore.
All right, 5 out of 12 is pretty good, but is it good enough to beat our open source intelligence expert? Joining me now is Stephen Harris. Stephen is a SANS SEC 497 practical open source intelligence instructor and a former cybercrime investigator. Can he outscore our Virginia Beach attendees? Let's find out.
Hey, Stephen, thanks for coming on.
No, it's my pleasure. It's great to be here.
Give me a little bit of background. Tell me what you do for SANS and a little bit of your background with regard to open source intelligence.
Sure. So I teach Sec 497 at SANS, which is the practical open source intelligence class. Prior to that, I spent most of my career working in law enforcement. I spent a lot of my career as a detective, and I specialize in cybercrime, trying to find bad guys on the internet who mostly didn't want to be found. So yeah, that's my background. So I like to think I've got an eye for spotting a bad guy, but we'll see.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, how practical is this? I mean, I'm really putting you on the spot here with here. You have to beat the average Joe with regard to this. But how practical is it? Can we really identify what somebody does based upon just their appearance?
The short answer is yes, you can. However, there is actually genuinely a little bit of science to this. There's a really great book written probably about 20 years ago now, book called Blink by a scientist called Malcolm Gladwell, and he says you have this. He calls it thin slicing. So when you see somebody or you see a situation, your brain makes an instant assessment about who that person is, what they do, and you don't do that consciously, and you're not even conscious that you're doing it. So if you've been really good at spotting criminals, for example, or you're good at spotting burglars, if you've done that lots of times, when you see someone, your brain immediately draws on that experience to spot somebody and you don't even know why you've done it. Because if you don't have that experience to draw on, or you've got terrible biases sat there in your mind, you can make the wrong decisions as well. Of course, it's not foolproof. But there does seem to be a basis that you can draw on your own memories and experiences super quickly to suss people out and tell what they are. So we'll see how that applies to people in InfoSec, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm imagining how that would apply. I could see someone who deals with a lot of criminals being able to pick out, the criminal type. But here we're talking about this person is in OSINT, or they're in forensics and they're in offense. And I would imagine, being a SANS instructor, seeing lots of people come into your classes that you might start to develop a feel. You think that's going to give you an advantage over the regular Virginia Beach attendee who may not see as many students in those classrooms?
I'd like to think so. We'll see. I mean, ultimately, we'll see how well I get on. But there are different characters, there are different worlds within InfoSec for sure, and so we'll see. I'd like to think there are differences between someone who's an elite pen tester and someone who's an assurance manager, maybe. We'll see that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump into it. So is this person, and I got to give you the same choices that I gave the people in the recording. Would you say this person is offense, forensics, or defense?
I'll go with my first instinct, which is probably offense.
Okay. This is Doug Burks. He wrote Security Onion. So he is a defensive person. He definitely classifies himself as defense.
Okay, there we go.
All right. So, oh wait, I got the sound effects. All right, you got the buzzer. I don't know if you could hear that. But all right, so let's go on to person number 2. Would you say that this person is, and your choices are, defense, cloud, or leadership?
Defense, cloud, or leadership? I'm going to start trying to rationalize this. I'm just going to go with cloud.
Oh. Are you hearing my sound effects? I put all this.
I am, yeah, they're coming through, yeah.
Okay, all right. You got the ding, ding, ding. So that's 1 for 1. 1 for 1. Excellent. All right, so let's go on to our next person. This is Noah. Okay, and your choices for Noah were offense, defense, or forensics.
I'm going to go forensics.
Noah was defense.
Yeah, that's my
So,
second choice.
what did this individual write? Did this person write an offensive tool, a defensive tool, or a forensics tool?
I'm looking at the, I'm trying to scrutinize the award on the wall behind him. He kind of exudes super smartness. I'm going to go defensive.
Congratulations. This is Phil Zimmerman. Phil Zimmerman wrote PGP. And so, of course, the entire PGP story, the origin story of PGP, and how Phil Zimmerman almost went to jail for writing PGP is one of the episodes on the Infosec Toolshed. So that's great. So what is that? That's 2 for 2?
Yeah.
2 for 2?
Yeah.
2 for 2.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our next one. Is this person famous for writing an offensive tool, a defensive tool, or a forensics tool?
My first thought was he's a cop. I'm going to say offensive.
This gentleman is Van Houser. Van Houser, who wrote THC Scan and THC Hydra, the password guesser. He's the founding member of THC, the Hacker's Choice, which is
definitely not. Okay.
Yeah. How about this gentleman? Did this gentleman write an offensive tool, a defensive tool, or a forensics tool?
I'm going to go the offensive, defensive, forensics. I'm going to go offensive.
Correct. This is Dildog, one of the members of the Cult of the Dead Cow, and he wrote Back Orifice, one of the original command and control backdoors. So also an episode available on the Infosec Toolshed. All right, so that is 4 correct and 2 incorrect now. Well done. All right, this gentleman's name is Reza. So is Reza, would he identify himself as offense, defense, or forensics?
Offense, defense, or forensics? I am going to say defense.
Defense. Wow, 5 correct, 2 incorrect. You're doing very well. Reza is a network defender. All right. This is Rebecca. And did Rebecca identify herself as offense, defense, or forensics?
I'm going to go. I'm always going to try and stick with my gut answer and stop trying to rationalize it. I'm going to go forensics.
Rebecca is forensics. Well done. I'm now bordering on amazement with how well you're doing here. This is Rob. Does Rob identify himself as offense, defense, or forensics?
I'm going to go straight with offense on this one.
How you doing this? That's correct.
I'm not doing it either. Was it all those students over the past few years?
Rob identifies himself as offense. Excellent job. All right. This is Zach. Is Zach offense, defense, or forensic?
I want to say forensics.
Insanely, that is correct. I don't know how. Zach was in my 573 class in Virginia Beach.
very talented coder. This is JT. Did JT identify himself as offense, defense, or forensics?
Offense. Yeah.
JT was defense. Actually,
man.
he had on a collared shirt when I interviewed him, and as you'll see, he took off and went with the t-shirt for the picture. I don't know if what he was originally wearing would have given you a different.
I might have, yeah, maybe that threw me out. I went with made the t-shirt influence me a bit much. I don't know.
Is this gentleman famous for writing an offensive tool, a defensive tool, or a forensics tool?
Based on the skull over his shoulder, I'm going to go offensive.
This is H.D. Moore, the author of Metasploit Framework, which is an offensive tool. So well done. So congratulations. Let's see how you did compared to our players in Virginia Beach. Yes, he can outscore our Virginia Beach attendees. Nine correct, 3 incorrect. That seems statistically significant, right? When I saw the Virginia Beach scores, it seemed like, well, they got about a third of them correct. And that seemed like a little bit, it was just slightly better than random, right? That there really weren't doing that much, but your score seems significantly more than random. So what do you attribute that to?
I don't know. I was just thinking about that whilst you're going through it. I think probably, I mean, I've taught a lot of students in the past few years, and obviously you see, you have 10, 20, 30 students in a class, and you learn about their backgrounds, and you kind of guess. I get the offset side, you kind of get the stereotype hacker, like they might dress a little bit different, or they have like longer hair, or they have a really cool beard, or something like that. I realized this is a broad brush and then stereotyping, but I think that's where we draw on those experiences when we make these decisions like that. And I think the forensics ones, I used to share an office for several years with some really awesome forensics people, and it's hard to describe, but they're kind of more, I'm trying to think of how I could say this without offending everybody. Like maybe more business-like in the way they dress, and maybe you look a bit more studious. I don't know. That would be how I would do that. And I think that's why I went for forensic on the guys who were like really well presented with the glasses, and the female student, I forgot her name. We're really smart and really well presented. So my gut was, they're forensics guys. They dress like this all the time. They're just smart. I guess that's why I came up with what I came up with.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the reasoning that JT came up with, that you might have to sneak into court. Yeah, that's interesting. So next question is, are we going to get canceled for stereotyping people when this video is released?
We'll have to see, I guess. But there's stereotyping people is kind of tricky, but we do it all the time. And it's a survival thing ultimately. Like, you learn to assess risk, you learn to assess danger and opportunity, and we all of us build up these stereotypes that we express unconsciously. So you've taught hundreds or thousands of students from different disciplines over the years, and that is going to inform your decision making. So you will have in your mind, when I say pen tester, you will have an image of your mind of what a pen tester looks like. Or if I say, he's a forensic expert and he goes to court, you'll have an idea in your mind of what that person looks like. So yeah, are we going to get cancelled? I don't know, but we all have these stereotypes in our minds, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on. This was entertaining for me and educational. I learned a lot. If people want to come and take OSINT training from you and learn how they too can identify strangers on the streets, where can they come take a class from you?
So I have a few classes coming up. The next one is next month, October, in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. And the next after that, I'm in London in December.
Excellent. Both wonderful places to visit and go take some SANS training. I appreciate you coming on the show and doing this little experiment with you. It was fun for me. So thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Click like and subscribe, it's the key to the toolshed of Infosecurity. Click like and subscribe, it's the key to the toolshed of Infosecurity. Click like and subscribe.